Hey, welcome to Lead Full. My name is Chesley Lunday. I am your host today. Here's the deal. We know that life, no matter how successful you are, can sometimes be an exercise in futility. And we want to help you defeat futility in your lives. We want to help you develop fulfillment, and we want to help you change the world, because we know this: when leaders are fulfilled, they fill the world with hope. Now, let's get ready to Lead Full. I am your host, Chesley Lunday. Today's interview is John Mediana. He is a marketing guru. In fact, media is in his last name, believe it or not. No, John is an amazing dude. He loves Jesus, and he's great at his job. And he talks a lot about what he's done. He's worked with Andy Grammer. He's worked with Lewis Howes. He's worked with Gary Vee. Gary Vee, right? He even talks about a little bit of the spiritual conversations he's had with people like that. And I think it's amazing to find guys like you and females. When I say guys, I mean all of you. People like you that are making a difference in your communities. And I love to tell your stories, and John is one of those people. So get ready for an amazing interview.
All right, we got John Mediana in the house. If you don't know who he is, that is okay. He's just a marketing guru. Didn't you do something like what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas?
Just a little bit. I was a creative strategist for the agency that did launch that in 2001, and actually been a part of the relaunch. Right, what happens in Vegas only happens in Vegas.
Only happens in Vegas.
That happened at the very beginning of the pandemic, and then just, yeah.
I think that's what everybody feels like about the pandemic is whatever. I'm not even going to make that sound, because I'm sure mine will sound like a swear word or something, because
oh man, I know, right?
Yes, that all of 2020 can just go to the trash can. No, it's good. Yeah. So man, how are you doing?
Oh man, so good. Thank you again, just for allowing me to be on the show, and excited about our conversation, and yeah, man, thank you so much for having me on.
Not a problem. So if you are one of my listeners, you're like, hey, they sound like they know each other. We do already. We've had a couple conversations. We have fun already. But John, like you heard, is a marketing guru. And one of the things we love to do is we love to talk business, we love to talk Jesus, and we love to talk creative. And you just happen to be all three, right?
All three wrapped in the Trinity, baby. Whoop, whoop. I just want to stop for a second, because I see the DC stuff in the back, and I'm like, yes, I went through that 4-hour Justice League film that we've been all asking for. Oh my goodness.
Yep, it is so good. So this is Justice League, but I also got like I don't know if you can see that. I've got Marvel on the bottom there, and then on the other side there's Marvel on that side. So I love all of
besties.
it. I know, bro.
We're besties, bro.
It's so great, so great. And then of course I love to read, so there's all my books that nobody cares about. They just care about that. So who's your favorite superhero?
My favorite?
Yeah.
Obviously Batman.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, like I think 90% of people love Batman over Superman, because he's us, but with a lot of money and a lot of gadgets.
And better looking, he's a detective, and stronger and smarter.
All the things, right? He's like, he's the epitome of superhero to me. He has like a past, right? A checkered past.
Yeah.
And like it just, that is awesome. Marvel character Spider-Man. I grew up watching Spider-Man a lot, have massive affinity because he's a photographer, and I was like, I want to be that growing up. So Spider-Man, but watched all the superheroes growing up, even from like Ninja Turtles and Power Rangers and all that stuff. Like I was born in the late 80s, 90s kid, so had to love all the superheroes and comics and stuff growing up.
So wait a minute. Okay. I love talking superheroes, but you just said you were born in the late 80s, and then it was the early 2000s that What Happens in Vegas Stays in Vegas came out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like you are not old.
I am not old. I lived many lives. The thing is, I was part of an agency that started that campaign, and me, when I came in, carried the legacy out.
Okay.
Right. So,
Yeah.
And rebranded it to what it is now, which is what happens in Vegas only happens in Vegas. So it was like a grandfathered in legacy that we took on the mantle, and like the new generation like took it and made it more relevant for today's world. So yeah, man. And with that agency also, like we were also part of so many campaigns, not just Vegas, but like Boeing, the travel industry period, we were a part of. So, but yeah, I mean, that's just my background in marketing. I've been in 15 years now, I think.
15 years.
Filmmaking and marketing.
And you're 25, so you started at 10 years old.
I'm a baby, man.
Right. No,
I'm a baby.
I'm sure I have more gray hair than you, but that's okay. That's all right.
Oh,
so
man, I could already see. I know.
I'm
man.
like,
yeah, I'm 30.
I get it. I'm like, wow, that is so white. Like just the sides of my hair. I don't know.
Gray
We're talking
fox.
about old. I know. And
Gray
yeah, well,
fox.
I said back in the day, let me age like George Clooney. And you know who I aged like? Sal Volcano. God had a sense of humor. Everybody thinks I look like Sal from Impractical Jokers.
Yeah, from Practical
Yeah,
Jokers.
man.
Me and my wife,
Yeah.
that's our favorite show. I was like, literally, the day I got off the call with you, I literally went to my wife. I was like, I think I got off the phone with Sal.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to make sure because he could totally pull like one of those like, gotcha. Like I'm not who I said I was.
Right. Yeah. You know what's
like,
funny is I can't do a Jersey accent to save my life, so we're okay.
Oh man,
We're all right. So we probably got separated at birth,
Yeah,
so.
man, that's awesome though. I could see George Clooney though.
Yeah,
Gray
well,
Fox,
man. Yeah. Oh well. God has a sense of humor. We'll just go with it.
Yeah,
So hey, tell me about your story. Like, how'd you end up in marketing? What was that like?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna go back to the beginning, man. So I was adopted as a baby, and I really struggled with identity growing up. I was raised in a Christian home, went to church religiously, obviously, and like I was like forced to memorize Bible verses and all this stuff. And as I was growing up, I was trying to figure out why, God, what is my purpose here, and why am I so different than all my other cousins and relatives? They all wanted to be lawyers and doctors, and I just wanted to be creative. I wanted to play music. I wanted to be a rock star and go on tour and like play in a band and also like do creativity for a living. And growing up, that wasn't an option. I just never seen anyone that was, first of all, Asian in that field. They all were in like, really dedicated, like secure professions. Yeah. So that really, first of all, like dealing with the identity thing and feeling like I want to do something creative and bring some meaning into this life, because I don't know how I got here. I don't know what my purpose is in life. And I really struggled because I was asking that question to my parents, my adopted parents, my whole entire life. And I love them, and they raised me in such a great, like they gave me so much opportunities, and I absolutely love them with the bottom, in the bottom of my heart, and like just fully love them so much for what they've done. But I still wrestled with that idea of like, what is my purpose? What is my identity in all this? It doesn't make sense to me for me to be born at this time in this place with these things and this family and all this thing. It just didn't make any sense. So my making sense of the world was through creativity. I grew up in, when skateboarding was the culture and music was the culture. It was about to blow up, MTV and all that stuff. So like Dogtown Z-Boys was my thing. And like that skateboard culture taught me that, when like Tony Hawk and, all these like superstars coming out of the skateboard world, they taught me that creativity and failure, actually like practicing that, is actually meaningful. There's something meaningful in creativity, and that whole culture of not rebellion, but like, hey, I'm going to go off and do my thing and what, brings me joy and all that stuff. That was part of the culture. And I was so attracted to that culture. I was so attracted because that was so out of the norm of what I knew growing up. And there was just something about that was like, wait, I can do creativity for a living? Like, what? And it just kind of like rewired my brain. So I picked up my first camera when I was like 10, 11 years old. And I started filming my friends that skateboarded.
Oh, wow.
Because I was like, oh man, we're skating. I want to film it. I want to practice more. I want to see where I'm messing up and replay that. And that actually turned into like recording my friends who were like semi-pros and then like selling VHS tapes at our local skate shop when I was like,
what are those? What are those?
No. VHS tapes. What?
Never mind.
Yeah,
you're not young. Sorry, you're not young. No, just playing.
I know. And then I started doing that when I found, a VHS camera, those JVCs from Back to the Future. That's what I was filming on. And my friends were like, hey, I think my sponsorship would love to have this in this shop. So that's where that came from. I went into also started doing photography in the darkroom when I was a freshman in high school and like learning how the camera works. And like, I was just so intrigued because I was like, wait, I created something out of nothing and it just started as an idea, but now I'm holding it and I'm like, what? Like it completely blew my mind. And then I started going the trail of being adopted into the internet world. So like MySpace started blowing up. There was like AIN, there was like all this other stuff that was happening. I was like, whoa, what if I could put this stuff on here and people could watch it for themselves and I don't have to bring this VHS tape to their living room and pop it in this VHS.
Yeah.
I was like, what if I could just like use this to reach more people in my community and like in the skateboarding world and in the music world. I used to be in tons of bands when I was growing up. I played lots of instruments and stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh, MySpace blew up with music. So I would literally record bands in my bedroom and I would create their EPKs on MySpace. I would actually learn and design HTML stuff in MySpace and they would pay me to do it. Wow. They paid me a couple $100 to redesign their MySpace and then to do a recording. And then I pulled my photography skills. I started doing EPK stuff, like packaging that.
That's amazing.
So I literally was like an entrepreneur growing up, using creativity to leverage like, oh, my parents and my friends or my family says that you can't do this for a living, but I'm making a couple $100 a week just making MySpace pages and stuff. I think there's something here, So then after high school, I went to film school, man. Like in film school, I spent 6 years in art school, Santa Monica Art Institute.
Yeah.
Then, and the same time I just hustled. I started doing work in the industry. I started working for Kodak. I started doing all kinds of things that actually was demonstrating that you can make money and be creative. And when at the same time going to church, I was like, hey, how come like the church doesn't have this that's happening out there? And how come I'm going out there to learn the things that I want to learn and the church doesn't teach you how to use your creativity and create wealth and do, it was just weird to me. So I was like, what if I started using the stuff that I learned out there to help and tell the story in church? So I was very grateful that, in 2006, a church in Brea called The Cause allowed me to become a youth leader. And I was part of their media program. And that's where actually I met Jesse Ross. He was my mentor in this internship. And I started learning about how to use storytelling and all that stuff. I was just so fascinated by storytelling and documentary stuff. Like I was studying short films. I was studying documentary work in college, in art school, and using all the design aspects. And I was just literally just absorbing. I spent literally over 10, maybe 13 or 15 years absorbing, that 10,000 hour rule. I think I got like about 200,000 hours of
You're an uber professional. You're like a sensei.
Yeah, but I feel like I'm just starting because everything's evolving all the time.
You're not wrong.
Principles.
Yeah.
Right. There's just basic principles that always work with creativity. And once you get that, it's kind of like, you could unlock tons of creative ways to use that in business, in church, in your personal life, whatever you're doing. So long story long, with everything I learned from art school and church and all this stuff, I had opportunities to co-own some businesses. I failed multiple times in business. I was in partnerships that, I thought was good. And because of my immaturity in business, I, ran stuff to the ground and I was like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. And I just love the title of like, oh, business owner, creativity, creative entrepreneur. And then I matured and started learning through becoming a seasoned creative and a business person and all that stuff. I'm at a place now in my life where I've done a ton of stuff in marketing and advertising, and I've seen a lot, not everything, but I've seen a lot when it comes to that. And it all boils down to storytelling. You know, it all just boils down to telling and connecting human to human. And that's what I do today, you know?
Yeah. So
human to human branding.
I don't want to open up too many wounds because I know what it's like on the entrepreneurial journey.
Oh, I'm so open. I will go deep into it.
What was the biggest mistake you made as an entrepreneur?
Oh man, over promising and under delivering. Like over promising.
That happens when you're good at marketing.
Yeah. And here's the thing, like I just thought stuff would happen and I didn't know what I needed for it to happen. And in my head, I was like, this makes sense. And then I'm like, oh yeah, that didn't work at all. Wow. Like I spent a lot of money. And I've, you know, so one thing is not understanding how business actually works and like having a business plan and taxes, taxes, the stuff that's not sexy.
Yes.
Right. Is the
So
biggest
true.
things that, I felt like, man, I wish I had known certain things that I know now that would have, but you know what, if I had not gone through those experiences, I definitely would not be where I am today. So
Yeah,
I'm
I get
grateful
that.
for those, you know, for sure.
Yeah. So let's switch gears a little bit because I really want to hear what it's been like as obviously you started opening it up when you talked about it, but as a Jesus follower in the creative marketing space, you're working with a lot of executives, a lot of high profile guys, and they're a different breed, and following Jesus is not the sexy thing with those guys.
Probably not.
And then
Yeah.
obviously because you're in that space and then you try to move back into church space, it feels like there can be some difficult transitions. Like talk about what that's been like and what has your experience been when it comes to trying to be a Jesus follower in the space you work at and then trying to be a marketer in the church space?
Yeah. That's such a great question. And I'm glad you asked it because the only people that I know who uses the word secular are Christians.
Yeah.
Which is super funny to me because when I'm talking to CEOs or when I'm working with them, I feel like they're doing Jesus's work more than the people in the church in some cases.
Unpack
You know,
that. Unpack that. Because what do you mean by that?
Okay. Yeah. So a lot of times, and I'm not trying to offend anybody but from my experience, and that's why I'm on the show, because like what I've learned throughout the years is like, I absolutely love Jesus. I love his bride, right? The church. And you can't have one without the other. You got to love the church. You know, you can't love Jesus without loving the church. So that being said, what I have experienced in church, from small startup churches to mega churches that I was on staff on, you know, like thousands and thousands and thousands of people, is that a lot of times the church really gets in a church bubble where it's like an echo chamber of if you're not serving in this house or in this church, you're not fulfilling the calling or what you're called to, right, in life. And a lot of that is like, you know, you have to volunteer, you have to serve, or when you're on staff, you got to do literally everything that we tell you to do. And we call that the honor system, right? You got to honor, you got to be that shield bearer. You know, I don't know if I'm poking some people right now.
You might be.
But I learned in the outside world, there's a lot in the secular world where they had better business models and better human models, I guess, like core values than I saw in church. Like, you know, treating people like human beings. How about that? Like they saw people and they were so generous, and these CEOs and stuff. And actually, I sometimes get emotional thinking about like the people that I served in the secular world, in the industry, that literally lives a life of generosity without wanting or expecting anything in return, right? They literally like it. The way that I've landed in my career and my job is solely because I've seen how entrepreneurs and CEOs that had influence and impact, and they know how, like, what their why. And I've seen them literally write not just $1,000 checks, $100,000 checks. Literally, I've watched them write $1 million checks to charities and people and funds,
Wow.
like firsthand. And I'm like, what? And sometimes I see people in church asking for millions. In fact, some of their message when they go to the tithing sermon is, you can spell millions, M-I-L, billions with a B, B-I-L. I'm like, oh my gosh, like what? So, serious, right? And I'm just like, what's wrong with you, man? Like, a life of generosity is one of the closest things I've seen on display as when it comes to being Jesus, right? Living a life of gratitude, but serving people, knowing that the love of money isn't the thing, right? The entrepreneurs that I've served or like worked with and currently work with, they understand that money isn't everything. Money doesn't replace your health. Money doesn't replace, like your situation, but it is a vehicle that gets not only attention, but creates impact and proximity and freedom and time. How can you create impact if you are living in survival mode every single day, where all you're thinking about is, how am I going to pay for my bills? How am I going to eat? How am I going to put a roof over my head? How am I going to take care of my car payment, my phone bill? If you're thinking about that, you're not thinking about how you could give to someone, not just in financially or with your treasure, but your time, because your time is so caught up in like, I got to find a way to make money today. I'm going to go through garage sales. I'm going to go through this. Like, you're stressing out. And if you're in survival mode, and this is one of the things I've been like learning from these entrepreneurs that are literally like 7, 8, 9 figures, they're like, your freedom with finances and all that stuff can create impact and proximity to people, because when you can start choosing how you spend your time, where you spend your time, and and not being attached to like, I can't give that today. When you start saying like, I want to give without looking at the bank account, that's how you know you're living a life of just generosity, right? Like, oh, I could just give that without even flinching or blinking. You've created that. And I think CEOs and high-level people have recognized that finances is attached, it's not really attached to impact, but impact happens when when you see the fruit and stewardship of someone, right? So finances is a stewardship problem, right? And freedom, that spirit of freedom, or that spirit of lack, right? That's a spirit, and that's a problem that a lot of us face, right? Maybe you're not rich, maybe you don't got 6 figures in the bank, but it is the spirit. And I see a lot of entrepreneurs have the spirit of generosity more than the people that I know in church that are like, I'm just praying and praying for a breakthrough. I'm just waiting for someone to write a check to me. And they're like just sitting, doing nothing. And that to me, I'm like, wait, God gave you creativity and your brain and your hands to work. Like, God's giving you so much, and you're just sitting, waiting for someone with a checkbook to write you something because God told them. Yeah. Or, you prayed and someone, I literally heard pastors on stage say, a check's coming your way. Someone's writing you a big check. Yeah. And it's like, ooh, like, man, my breakthrough is like, what?
It's like, if you get to work, maybe you get a check. But no, never mind.
I don't know. But also, I don't know. Also, in certain people's circumstances too, they need to see it. They need a hand up, not a hand out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. So yeah.
Hey, one of the things that's difficult in your space is because you're around a lot of non-Christians, a lot of church people, and I won't call them Jesus followers because not all of them are. Some of them are. Many of them are, maybe. But a lot of church people think evangelism is specifically just spitting out the message and telling them turn or burn, baby. And that doesn't work. Obviously, we're in a new age, a new era of what Christianity looks like in America. So what are you doing? How are you having faith conversations? What does that look like in your area?
Yeah, it's, oh man, I'm so glad you asked this question, because to me, I feel like being a Jesus follower in the marketplace is a ministry in itself. And it's funny because the ones that are outside of church, surprisingly, are so hungry for God, so hungry for Jesus, and they don't know it. But you could see, like, when you have one-on-one conversations, it's just like connecting with them on a human level. And a lot of these, influential people that I've worked with in the past and currently work with, they have a lot of clout. They're a lot of them are famous. A lot of them have a big following. But when I'm one-on-one in a room with them, like setting up their studio or taking their photo or whatever, whatever it is, we have like a level of human connection where it's like, so what's your why, man? Like, why do you do this? And then they go into this most of the time, majority of the time, they go into the story about their life and how they got there. And like, they literally just open up at that point, because they feel a sense of trust with, you as a human being, when you could not see them as like how everybody else sees them. Like, oh my gosh, they got millions of followers. Like, what's it like working with them? It's like, nah, man, they're human. They put they put on pants just like we do.
Right.
But they have more hours in the day because they have staff, right?
Yeah.
So we have 24 hours. They have like multiple of hours a day because
they buy a lot of time. Yes, they do.
They buy a lot of time. But the reality is, like, when it comes down to it, I think the basic fundamentals of humanity is human connection. And once you realize that Jesus is in the center of human connection, that he wants to connect, like, that is literally what his mission was on planet Earth, is to connect people to a holy God, to a God of the universe. And that was the mission. And when we could recognize that as Jesus lovers and Jesus people, followers, and saying, hey, if God wants to connect to people, maybe we should too.
Yeah.
If maybe we should have those conversations with people, regardless of their clout or what they, who they are, what they do, even in the opposite direction. I might be in rooms with influential people, but what people may not see, like, is the food bank we go visit, or like the people, what I mean? Like, just the people that need you. Like, they're just humans. Like, I don't see a billionaire differently than I see the guy down the street, recycling cans, or, you know what I mean? It's like, we're all created like to have human relationship. When you can stop and just ask people, hey, how are you doing? Hey, it's been a crazy year. How's that been for you? And it doesn't matter where they're at in life. They could literally be a millionaire, billionaire. You don't even know it, just because of your kindness and your generosity and actually having the time to stop and have a conversation. You would just never know. You could be having conversations with influential people and not even know it. I have a lot of times.
Yeah.
That's probably why they like me, because I don't like keeping up with the Joneses. I just don't like, I don't keep up with who's hot and not, I don't keep up with who's a celebrity or who's whatever. I think that's probably one of my favorite things about my profession is I don't see people like that.
Yeah.
They could tell me, oh, this person is like a mega influencer. I'm like, cool. Yeah. Like, doesn't bother me. Like, let's have a conversation. And I think that's one of the main reasons why I've built so much deep relationships with people and rapport with, influential people, because I don't see that. You know? I just see them as humans.
So you've had conversations with guys like that. And obviously, I mean, with the people that you work with, you're not name dropping. We had a conversation about one of those guys, and you said you had actually had a spiritual conversation with him. If you are okay with naming the name, that's fine. If you're not, you don't have to. But I would love to. I would love to hear kind of what that story looked like. What was? How did you even just go about having a conversation? Because so many people get scared and concerned. And I know the guy. Again, if you want to tell the guy's name, you don't have to. Don't feel pressured. But I mean, I know the conversation.
There's a bunch of conversations that I had about, Jesus, or a spiritual conversation with a lot of influential people. I mean, for the sake of the story, like, I could definitely put some names out there, but specifically, I mean,
I care more about like having that, like, what does that conversation look like? Because you are in a place where a lot of people like, I can never talk to my friends, let alone somebody like that. Like,
yeah.
How do you open up a conversation with somebody super influential, like multimillionaire? Like, how do you do that?
Well, it literally, this is funny because I'll literally do the, man, I'm so blessed test. I'll start dropping some like Christianese a little bit.
Okay.
You probably done that. A bunch of time.
You're like, oh, I know that. I know that word. Like, I know that word. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And then like, it's funny because like it'll happen really fast, man. I'm just so blessed that I'm here working with you, man. Like, oh, man, I just can't thank God enough. Like, it's just been so great. Oh yeah, I'm blessed. You know what? Let me dive deeper into that. I'm so blessed you're here. And then it's like, man, God is, and then we start going into this God conversation, and it just happens like so fast.
Yeah.
But showing gratitude of just, being able to work in, that space with those types of influential people. Like, I tend to live from gratitude. Mm-hmm. And when you start talking Christianese, it's so funny. People just catch on, and they're like, there's something about this person that is different than other people, because they never, they start, when they meet so many people in this space, it's hard to kind of break through their sphere of noise to be memorable or to, but these certain people, one of them, I'll name a few that I've been in spaces with. One of them was Gary Vaynerchuk, Andy Grammer. I don't know if you're familiar with Andy Grammer.
Yes, I'm a huge fan. Me and my wife sing along to him, and he's got a podcast too.
He does. He's blowing up on TikTok. But we had a Jesus conversation in the trailer when I was hanging out with him, because I'm good friends with his musicians.
Okay.
Shout out to Zach Rudolph.
There you go.
And all my boys on his team.
He's actually one of my bucket lists to get on this podcast. I've heard a couple of his conversations. Like, we'll make it happen.
Let's get him
on your
show. That. I'll text his bandmates and we'll set it up.
There we go.
We had a Jesus conversation, and
awesome.
it was like it was so straightforward, because he's I forget what religion he is, but we were literally backstage, and then oh my gosh, it was me and my wife, and we're hanging out, and we're just waiting for him to go up. He was out here in Vegas. He was going to do a private show for like 1,000 people, something like that. And then what's his name? The country singer, what's his name? Garrett, or I forget. He goes like, "Hi, I'm, what's his name?" to my wife, and my wife is like, "I'm your biggest fan." And then it was like
I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know a country artist outside of Blake Shelton, so I don't know.
It was like a big country star.
That's
right?
hilarious.
He's like, "Hi, my name's something," and see, that's how not celebrity starstruck I am. Right? Go. That just shows.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get starstruck. Period.
Well, with Andy's lyrics,
but after that conversation.
Yeah, Andy's lyrics are just like straightforward, like spiritual. Like, it's really interesting. He really writes really deep stuff.
Yeah. So obviously we had to go into a Jesus conversation.
Yeah.
He's like, "I totally get it. Like, I totally get Jesus. And I'm like, man, but you really remind me of Jesus, man. Like, he's like, well, thank you. And like, I don't know, we're continuing the conversation.
Yeah.
You know, I got people in that circle that
Yeah.
really praise for him, but he's awesome, you know. But yeah, like, you know, what other influential circles? Yeah, there's conversations that it literally happens all the time, and it just happens so organically and naturally that I literally, you know, I literally just have these conversations always. But I guess for a lot of people, they sometimes are like, well, how though? How do you have these conversations? How do you start like breaking out of your circle and your sphere? And I always say, you got to just do. Like, it's all in the doing.
Yeah.
That's when things happen. That's when God moves. When you start moving, when you start doing, when you start, you know, just even, you know, in the mornings where you're like, God, like, you know, today I know how busy it is, but God, like, open up some divine conversations, some divine moments, make me aware that it's going to happen, and allow me to be as prepared as possible to have these conversations. And that's what I do going into like every work day. You know, it's like, you never know what conversations are going to come, and you never know who you're going to run into, and all that stuff. So I'm a huge believer in preparing your spirit to see heaven happen, you know, see an open heaven and have those opportunities happen, and be prepared to have those conversations.
That is so good. You are very much, it sounds like you're looking for those opportunities. Like you're coming to work with the idea of, I'm here to build God's kingdom, not just paint a picture on a canvas or another marketing ad.
Right. That is my core, like, reason why I'm alive today. I've been through a lot in my life, even as a teen, even attempting suicide 3 times when I was 15, 16. So understanding the value of life, you see life through a different perspective when you have been forgiven of much and have been like a changed person with that encounter. I'm not here to convince people to believe in Jesus and start doing, you know, like living their life for God. Yeah. I'm not, because if I do, someone's going to come along and convince you out of it.
Yeah.
You know, they're going to convince you of like, oh, I got to believe in this. Oh, you got to do, oh, you got to buy these Bitcoins, and you got to, you know, like all kinds of stuff happens when people get convinced. But the only thing that really transformed my life is the presence of God, is the encounter that I had when I was 18, and I actually owned up to my faith and not rid on my parents' faith, right? On those coattails.
Yeah.
And when that happened, the lens that I look through is to honor him with every breath that I have, and to strategically go out every single day looking for conversations, hunting them down. You know, how can I talk about Jesus? How can I help someone? How can I live generously? How can I, you know, just have brighten someone's day with a conversation that they're, you know, let them know how much God loves them. And the vehicle and tool that I use is marketing. The vehicle and the tool I decided to use was this right here.
Yeah.
Is the iPhone, is storytelling, is cameras and tools and technology. That's the choice of vehicle that I was like, I'm gonna bring this message. I'm gonna not only bring something to people, but I'm here to learn from people and grow. Like, I'm here for human to human connection. And that's what really transformed the lens that I use, that people are desperate to connect to a living God. A God of miracles, a God that can transform their life. And I got to just get out the way and not feel like I'm doing something for God, but actually abiding in him and allowing his conversations to rule my life, and allowing whoever he wants to bring in my circle or in my attention. God, I'm gonna allow you to do that. And I'm just going to be a vehicle, and I'm not going to be starstruck or anything like that, because you want them to know you. Like, and if I'm part of that plan, awesome. I'm just a piece of it, small piece, a small seed, right? It's his party. We're just invited. You know, what are you going to do?
Hey, I'm interrupting this amazing interview because I want to tell you about something really quickly. I want to tell you about Followers Made. A lot of us have been in church for a very long time, and yet we are you know, we have problems because we don't exactly know what it means to follow Jesus. And it's not actually sitting in a pew or sitting in a seat listening to a preacher. It's actually developing the gifts and call that God has on our lives, and also developing intimacy with Jesus. Now, dudes, I know that word intimacy seems a little weird, but give it a chance. We want to help you develop your relationship with Jesus and develop the call of God that is on your life. And so we would love for you to text 480-531-9015 and do this for me. Text hello to 480-531-9015. I'm going to get back to you, and we would love to set up a time to show you what that system Followers Made looks like and how we might help you follow Jesus better in your context.
So good. I'm going to ask you a provocative question.
Yeah.
If people are so desperate to find a living, active God that's like on their side, then why is church dying in the U.S.?
Church is dying. This is just my personal opinion, and I love that question because there's so many avenues you could go down. I feel like church is dying because they've been bamboozled by false doctrine. To an extent, they've made it an objective kind of like, you know, thing. Like Western culture has created a celebrity mindset for a lot of these churches and pastors, and like has created like an enterprise business company structure, corporate. And I don't think that's what God came to do, like to send his son so that we could have a pyramid scheme. Sorry for my term, but
no, you're good.
Most of our churches, I think a lot of churches have adopted the pyramid of the corporate ladder and how power gets transmitted and transferred and imparted, and their whole message is this feel good prosperity / you know what I mean? Like when the church stops telling people like, hey, your mission is to clothe the homeless and to take care of the widows and feed the hungry, and they start saying like, your bank account's about to touch the garment of Jesus, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like that's when we got a problem. We have a problem because at the end of the day, when we show up to heaven and we stand in front of this almighty, all loving, all knowing, omnipresent, omnipowerful God, he's not going to be like, did you get that blessing in your account that I sent? Or he's going to be like, yo, so you know the mission, what'd you do with it? You know, he's going to say, I never knew you, or great job and faithful soul, you know, servant.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
like at the end of the day, I think the biggest, most valuable advice or thing that has ever been said wasn't from a Christian. It was actually from Gary Vee. He goes like, you're going to die one day. Everybody is going to die. I know that sounds so dark and like just morbid, but let that sink in. This life is this is not forever. There is an eternity at the end of this life. And if you can see through a lens of eternity, then maybe the church has a chance, like to be, not to be Jesus, but to bring people to Jesus. Because our job isn't to be the savior of the world.
Right.
Our job is to be like, look, I'm following him. Come follow him too, because he's transformed my life. I'm not trying to be Jesus. I just want to be near him. I want to press my face up against his
absolutely.
chest. Yeah, I want. Yeah. You know what I mean? I want to be at the feet of Jesus at the end of I want to be like John, who boasted about how much Jesus loved him to a point where he called himself, you know, his beloved.
Yeah.
And not like Peter, who ended up denying him 3 times. You know, I want at my gravestone say John. I don't want it to say John was a dope creative. He hung out with influential people, millionaire, billionaires, whatever, and was really creative. I don't want that. What I want is people to recognize and see my gravestone and be like, John, he knew how much Jesus loved him, and he did something with it.
Yeah.
Like, I just want people to know that I know how much Jesus loves me, because I could never, ever love him as much as he loves me. And I don't want to boast about like, oh, I love Jesus so much. Look how many people I brought to Jesus. Like, no, man, like it does not matter. It's like, do you recognize for yourself that Jesus actually loves you? That let's put the microscope on you and explore how much God actually, what he had to do to make all this happen, orchestrating every single thing. I was literally just reading, I don't know if you're familiar, and I'm just going to bring this up because I just feel like, man, this is like the perfect thing to say.
Yeah.
I was reading something that I sent to my team. It was called the Ancestral Mathematics.
Okay.
I don't know if you're familiar with that.
I am not. No.
And ancestral mathematics. Let's just dive into it real quick, and I'll make it. I promise I'll make it quick. In order for you to be born, you needed 2 parents, 4 grandparents, 8 great-grandparents, 16 second great-grandparents, 32 third great-grandparents, 64 fourth great-grandparents, goes all the way down to 2000 ninth great-grandparents, period, right? For you to be born today from 12 previous generations, you needed a total of 4,094 ancestors over the last 400 years.
Wow.
Think for that. Think for a moment. How many struggles, how many battles, how many difficulties, how many sadness, how much sadness, how much happiness, how many love stories, how many expressions of hope for the future did your ancestors have to undergo for you to exist in this present moment?
It's kind of deep, bro.
Right. So when I'm thinking about like literally we're here now, and you got to think, what knobs did God have to like really turn and set for you to exist today? What knobs, how many relationships, how many split moment decisions, split second decisions needed to be made for you to be here, right? That blows my mind. And why does that resonate with me? Because I was adopted. I was planning to take my life at a young age.
Yeah.
Every breath, every second of my life matters, and people matter to God. Mm-hmm. And we need to get out of the way and understand this is God's party. We're a part of it. What are we going to do? Are we trying to build up wealth and be famous here? Or are we just trying to point people to Jesus to be like, oh, this is the guy that saved me. This is the guy that saved my life. This is the guy that created, this is the guy that healed me, that, he protected me. He was my strength in my weakest moments of life. He gave me hope. He gave me a reason to be alive. He's the reason why I'm married and have a baby that I'm, excited to be a dad about. Like, I have hope every single day because of this man, Jesus.
Yeah. So good. So good. So, you're a marketer. You love Jesus, and it's just come out all over this interview. You have hung out with some of the most impactful people in the U.S., and you have been part of a church. You've been on staff at a church. You've been in the congregation of a church. What does the future of church need to look like to be impactful in the next generation?
Oh man, that's $1 million question.
I love that question.
I do. And I'm going to share my heart through the lens of marketing.
Yeah.
Please do. I believe I learn a lot from marketing and branding in the space that I'm in. First of all, I just want to say marketers ruin everything. First of all, we all know that.
I thought that was pastors. I thought pastors ruin everything, but okay.
Pastors might be because kicks ruin everything. I'm just kidding.
Yes, I do love me some Jordans though, bro. Like,
yeah, I know.
I was so poor growing up. Like the Jordan 14s. It was the last shot Jordans. I had never had a pair of Jordans until I was an adult. And then I only had those for 1 year. And then my wife, like, I've been living on a church planner salary. My wife said, here's $250. Go buy your pair of Jordans. And dude, I had such a hard time. I'm
Yeah,
like, we
it's
could
tough.
do it with this. Those things are too good. I will never wear them.
Oh my goodness.
And my wife's like, do you trust
Oh, my
God
goodness.
enough to be able to wear those shoes? And I'm like, ouch. So I bought the I bought the shoes, but I'm like, man, my
Yeah.
wife is amazing. Yeah, I love me some
Yes.
Jordans. Love me some Jordans.
No, absolutely. Look,
Sorry, back to the
just got
question.
say, Jordans are fire. I got some, you know. Yeah, so back to the question through the marketer's lens,
Yeah.
where is the church going? What do they need to focus on? What do they need to do? From a marketer standpoint, I always say go where the people are, right? Go where the people are. Where are they hanging out? Because today's world, back in the day, like 20 years ago, the church had grabbed attention without even asking permission. It was like they had attention and it was demanded from the church. Like the church didn't have to do anything for people. They put butts in the seats and they're there for an hour, hour and a half. Some churches 4 hours. Sometimes they go into dinner. Yeah. Like they had the attention already built in. They knew it. The expectation was you're going to church. You're going to sit down. You're going to shush your mouth, and you're gonna listen to
sit down, shut up, and grow up.
Yeah, my mom would squeeze me when I was like making too much. Like I was like squirming, and she's like, and Jonathan, you got, and she go like that. She's Filipino. If you guys didn't recognize the accent,
yeah.
Jonathan, stop talking, huh? Like, so like she would pinch me, and I'm like, that didn't hurt, and then she would go, and I'm like, ow, okay. So back then it was like given attention, right? It was an expectation.
Yeah.
Today's world, everything's pulling our attention left and right. Like even if you're sitting in the seats, you're on your phone on Instagram and you're like, oh, I'm just trying to take notes, pastor. Oh, I'm just trying to gram this. I'm just trying to take a moment here, put it on my gram so people could know where they're going to church tonight. Like they would make up these, things of like why they're on their phone during service. Oh, I'm just looking at my Bible app, pastor. Like, but it's go where the attention is, right? Because the thing is, like with Jesus, he went where people were and people follow him where he would go, and attention follows, right? So if impact follows attention. So if you can create proximity from that attention, and you could create impact, and where people are, I literally, before through a marketing lens, church was like this one category. You go to church and you're just there, and that's one category. Now in today's world, because of technology and social media, church is in different platforms, happening in different spaces. It's not one place no more. It's now broken up to spaces and places that no one could ever think or imagine. Church is happening on YouTube, as well as Twitter, as well as an Instagram DM, as well on TikTok. Church is happening everywhere. If you don't understand that in today's world, that we are connected in a digital world now where you could have church literally on a Clubhouse call. If you're not familiar with Clubhouse, Google it. You could have church
and then
on
get an
Clubhouse.
iPhone. Then get an iPhone because you gotta have one.
Now it's open up to Android.
Oh, they just did that?
Now they're opened up. Boom.
Nice. Oh, yeah.
Boom, 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 boom. Mic drops. Go check it out. Yeah, we'll add you, bro.
Great. Yeah.
But first of all, why don't you have an iPhone? No. Jesus loves iPhones.
I don't know. They're starting to feel like, the Empire on Star Wars. So
I know.
Unfortunate.
Dun. Yeah. Oh man, Star Wars. Yes.
Well,
man.
what is
I
it?
got tons of
Sorry.
Star Wars memorabilia.
I know. We're getting in. I still want to hear this, but it's like Harvey Dent's quote. You either die the hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain. I feel like that's what Apple's done. Yeah. Sorry. Back to the question again.
It is so true. It is so true. Man, that is just one of my favorite quotes.
It really is a great quote.
DC universe.
Yep.
Yeah. Where do I see a church happening? Everywhere. It really depends on, literally, you got to ask yourself, well, where do people hang out? Who? It's now like in like little packs of like pods.
Mm-hmm.
Church is happening in like little, like, it's not just like, oh, we're going to congregate to a church with a roof over our head now. It's like, yo, church is happening everywhere. I'm at church on the Bible app. I'm at church in my messages. I have a group chat and we're having church. Now it's like, well, church meaning worship, corporate worship, mixed with someone on stage with a fancy headset microphone, and they got to be doing a TED Talk message and have a tithing testimony. I don't know why I'm talking like that. I'm so sorry.
I don't know, but it's really great. I love it. Just keep going.
Oh man, that is the only way you could have church. That's it. You know what? This pandemic is gonna go away. Post COVID, people gonna come back into buildings, right? And you're gonna be wrong, right? It's not no. Church is happening on TikTok, Instagram, IGTV, IG Live, Facebook Live. It's happening everywhere. Where are you willing to go to find your community and have church? You could have community now because of the internet with the whole entire world.
Yeah.
That's the connection part. It's not just, and yes, yeah, local lives. Let's meet up at a coffee shop and have, there's nothing about like me, there's nothing that can replace in person. I get that. Even work is coming back, right? Hybrid workforce. Like people are coming back to work. Yes, that's true. But that doesn't negate the fact it's not a supplement to, like internet and digital is not a supplement to meeting in person. It is a significant addition. And it is, it's not replacing, it's just significant. And you got to see that as a church, that digital is significant. It's actually a place where people go to hang out and find value and become and live, So like I said, one time, I think we were on a call. I was like, dude, people are having high schoolers are having graduation on Fortnite.
Yeah, they are.
Full on graduations. Like what? Like, yeah, bro, it's blowing my mind. And the future is go where the people are and where the community is. If that's digital, hang out and have church on digital. If that's at a coffee shop, go.
Yeah. So you're,
does that answer?
Yeah, it does. Your key word there though is go. The word go is the thing that matters the most out of all of this. And I'm worried about that because church hasn't been a let's go and get them. It's always been a let's have them come to us. And so how does church need to change to make sure that that happens?
Open to coming to Easter service and Christmas service if you hand them an invite or if you invite them. I'm like, wow, that's where we're at. Like, you should. I'm sorry. I don't even know where to begin with that statement. I'm so sorry.
No.
Oh my gosh.
It's okay. I just, whoa. The difficulty that I'm having with the current trajectory the American church is on is you're saying, hey, you have to be very intentional on going to the people where the people are at. But our current situation is, hey, no, come and see us and then stay in our building, be with us, be a part of our community. And what ends up happening is nobody ends up leaving. And there's so many good churches out there, and I don't want to disparage any church that's listening, but I think as Gen Z and millennials are beginning to really take the stage, we're asking ourselves different questions about this. And so what does church need to look like to be vibrant in a generation that will not go to your building? They won't go unless they're already bought in.
Yeah.
And so
they just won't.
What do we do differently? As a marketer, what would you say? What should we do differently?
Literally take all that investment you would have put in a building and build a digital campus.
So build a digital church.
Build a digital church. And what does that look like, right? Well, I think once you build it, you'll start to explore and do some. And here's the thing. It's so innovative and so different and so against the grain of what we've known in church that it has to take time for research and development. How do I connect to people? Like, can this even be done? The answer is yes, absolutely. If people want to hang out and people, this is how they receive value and community. by being online. Of course, I want to invest and be intentional. And here's the thing. I'm just going to be flat out real and honest and raw. And I don't want to apologize for anything I say. Church has gotten lazy. We've gotten unintentional about the way we love people and communicate to people and generously spend our time, because we've been told, the Sunday is like a game time, and Easter is a Super Bowl event, and Christmas, that's a Super Bowl event. But we don't recognize that Super Bowl events happen throughout the week between the Sunday, like the Monday through Saturday, and people are getting like ministered to and discipled on these platforms and deeply connected, because if someone's going through something like depression and they're looking for answers, what are you going to tell them? Wait for Sunday.
No, you better have really great Google AdWords so you can be the place they click on to. Otherwise,
so intentionality wise, what would someone be searching when they're like this? We'll go even meta from a marketing standpoint. Okay, I want to go there real quick. Google, brought it up, so it's your fault. Google Ads, right? What are people searching that are looking like for Jesus? They don't even know it, but they're hungry and they're like wanting answers, and this is what I love about business and entrepreneurship. There's a company, I forget, but I know Haley Williams from what's called the band. Oh my gosh, I met her and she's one of my favorite singers.
This is why you're a great marketer. You're like,
I know.
Who are you?
Oh my gosh,
I don't know you.
There's a company.
No.
It's gonna hit me, and then we're gonna like just laugh about it.
I'm just gonna Google it because
Google it. Yeah, type in Haley Williams. It's a therapy app where literally, and I just bring this up because I was hit with ads. I'm not depressed or nothing like that, but
Paramore. There you go.
Paramore.
There you go.
That's my favorite band. they played my drums in the past, bro. When I used to co-partner with a drum, I used to build drums.
Oh, nice.
Long story short, there is people are, and this is where the transition happened. And you know what? I'm going to go into this and then we'll go into the marketing thing. I just want to preface the marketing statement with the Google ads.
Okay.
Real quick with a quick story of like back in the day when we were in 1990s, 2000s, we were weird because we didn't, we left the whole drinking life and partying life to live for Jesus and like get clean and start our whole life transformed. Today's world in 2021, the world is opposite of that. So the world is more like loving, caring. They're more virtuous than the church. And when that happens, the world starts looking at the church and is like, you hypocritical, organization. Like they start looking, the church starts getting painted in this light of like, they were the ones that were the weird oddballs to like stop their drinking, stop the partying. They leave that life to pursue Christ. And now the church is more looked at as the ones abusing and drinking and partying, and it's reversed, you see. And when the world starts providing solutions or living more generously than the church, the people in the church, we have a problem. And that's, I think, where we're going at. And marketing, let's go to the marketing ad spot. So when you know that the people that you absolutely know, like obviously I need to be in church, but the people are like looking for help, right? In their mindset, we got to be intentional. What are they searching for? What are they looking up? When you have a sermon that you're working on and your team, like you put this production together and you did this video for online, are you even keywording it so it's discoverable? So someone that needs to hear this message, whatever they're typing, they can find your video. Like a lot of churches don't think about SEO keyword optimization, where people can actually making your content discoverable and also putting Google ads behind those key phrases positions you and it creates intentionality of like, this is what this content is. These are the people this content needs to be searching for: the brokenhearted, the people that are going through divorce, the people that are just lost their child, the people that just lost their grandparent or their father or their mother. What would they be typing in the middle of the night at 1 o'clock in the morning when they're breaking down? They haven't been to sleep in 4 or 5 days, and they're just on their last limb, and they're going to Google, they're going to YouTube, they're going to Instagram for some sort of sign from God. Like, please speak to me, God. I'm looking for an answer. I'm looking for a message. And because we didn't do our due diligence as a church, we didn't keyword our message that speaks directly to their problem properly, and they could not find the message. That is terrible stewardship of, sorry, I'm getting real passionate.
Wow.
But that to me is bad stewardship in the church, of repurposing your content so that people that are hungry, that are dying out there, that are depressed out there, they can't find your content that can inspire them or lead them to Jesus. But you didn't want to hire that social media person, or you didn't want to put them through that SEO training because you didn't find value in it. You put it into some random production thing, like more fog, please.
Yeah.
More lights, please.
Yeah.
More smoke, please.
Wow.
Buildings that you had been planning for shutting down. What? Sorry, I'm just.
You're okay. You're
from
all
a
right.
From a marketing perspective, I would be putting a lot of intentionality of where are people hanging out? What are they typing? What are they looking for? And am I helping them cut the friction out between looking for this message that I know is going to bless them? I know this message is going to reach them deep in their spirit and wake them up and change their life if they just heard it. Am I doing, as a pastor, as a creative director, am I doing my due diligence in investing just a little bit of research and time to put in that piece of content some keywords that they may be typing, and because they saw the title and it was speaking directly to them, and because the message was, you know what I mean? Like, they could have found it, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's some meta stuff, bro.
No, that's really good. As somebody that is leading a church that is all digital, I'm like, yes, that makes complete sense to me. Like, I believe that the digital space is the new third space. It's the new marketplace. Yeah. People are there. Yeah. Jesus would have been there. Paul would have been there.
He would, yeah.
You know, and so
totally.
What does that look like? We're trying to figure that out. But okay, so my heart is for missionally discontented, like, creators and innovators. Like, they love Jesus. The church has been very, we love the church, but we're like, we just don't fit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So as a pastor, I get that. I get everything you said. But as a creator and an innovator, like, how can we, and marketing may not be as big of an issue for us, but how can we use the principles that you're talking about to help further the message of Jesus in their own contexts? Just like you as a marketer. Well, give us some pointers.
This is, if I were to do it today, I'm just going to speak from that because, you know, I love church. I love the bride of Jesus. Sometimes, man, like, they just need a different lens to look through, especially if they're trying to reach hurt people. I would not, if I was trying to attract, or if my target audience was the people that have been burnt by churches, that are entrepreneurs, that are creative, and that was my target, because, personally, that's what I do. I would do things to break through the noise of what I would redefine what church looked like, and that what they're familiar with church to look like. I would disrupt church, the Western culture church. I would disrupt it to a point where people start saying people start calling you things that is not church-like.
A heretic. Yes.
I would start disrupting the model. And I'm not one for disruption. I'm one for permission.
Yeah.
Right. So I believe in permission-based marketing. That's my philosophy. I'm not here to disrupt, but sometimes the industry needs to be disrupted. And what is permission-based ministry, I think, is a great question to figure, to ask yourself. How do I create permission-based ministry? Well, permission-based is through building rapport, is having a relationship, trust, building trust. That's permission. When someone has given you permission to speak into their life, that's how you know you've got permission-based ministry mindset.
Yeah.
When someone literally gives you, like, it asks you, hey, in your opinion, and they might not even believe in Jesus, but they're an entrepreneur, and and this has happened in my life where I didn't ask them. I don't set things up and take your shot. Like, I'm like, yeah, I just love proximity with people, and I believe in human to human communication. So permission-based, I love the permission-based instead of like disruption and attention-based, where you're trying to like, here's your attention, like wave your arms around and break through the noise. No, like, allow people to give you permission to be in proximity, because you're bringing, so it's almost like, if you're gone, will you be missed?
Yeah.
Right. If you created so much value to someone's life and they noticed that you were gone or didn't check up on them, you would be missed because of the proximity, the friendship, the rapport, the relationship, the value that it's so funny because that ties into entrepreneurship and like the different levels of building what's called a rapport, or Gary V's jab 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 right hook.
Yeah.
Value, like give, ask, right? There's different levels of that. For instance, if you give, like, the first level is if you give, you're expecting something in return, right? Obviously, it's like, if I give you something, I want you to return something.
Yeah.
That's like the lowest level, lowest tier. Like, a lot of people do that in today's world in digital spaces. I followed, so I want you to follow back, right? That's the lowest tier. Second one is like, hey, I'm just going to give without even asking, right? That's the second tier. And you're like, wow, some people are like, I need to like learn that, but that's just the second tier. Give without asking. So you just give without expecting anything in return. The third level would be giving, and then, getting back and being super like surprised, like, oh my gosh, like, I wasn't expecting that. Like, but when you did, someone gave back, right? And that was a reciprocation of something, right? And then the very, I think, like, top tier when it comes to entrepreneurship and that whole give, ask, is when you give something, don't expect anything in return, but when it does come to return, you hand it to someone else and say, hey, thank you for the gesture, but I want to hand that off to somebody else. I want to bless somebody else with the return of what you're if it's a connection or something like that, it's like, what, like, I could totally, use that, but I really want to bless somebody else with your favor or your gesture. That is the, like, pass it on, like, kind of mentality. That is the pay it forward. That is the, like, I have everything I need. And I just love connecting people. You know what I mean? And I've seen massive and actually built a lot of my relationships because I don't take, I just give.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey man, and you know what? Because of that lifestyle and that spirit of generosity, it's put me in places and spaces I've never thought I could ever dream or imagine.
Right.
And the reason why I don't like name dropping, I don't like, as you could tell, but because names don't matter when you're just living a life of generosity, and you're like, I just give and pass that gift on, and I would just want to be generous. And living that from that place when it comes to church today, if you put that now on the lens of church and say, how do you build a digital campus today in today's world? Well, you just give. And when they're like, well, what can we do for you? It's like, man, there's someone in our digital community that would love to meet you.
Yeah.
Or that would just love a mentorship from you, or like a conversation with you. I got, what I mean? You're the connecting piece to someone's life and problem. You start exemplifying what Jesus does for us every single day. And that's living that generous life. I don't know if that helps.
Yeah. It does. I'm thinking through, we had a story, a friend of mine their car got broken into last night. And so about $2,000 worth of his tools for his job got stolen.
No.
So I'm huge on, hey, the family of God protects its own. And so I grabbed a couple of my friends who all know this guy. And I said, hey, let's be Jesus. Let's do what Jesus would want us to do, right?
Yeah.
And so, man, we're, you know, and they responded very well. And, you know, he's getting his tools. So I'm like, we can't.
Oh, my goodness. Praise God.
So we're like super excited about helping him. Like, he got some golf clubs stolen too. I'm like, bro, I can't help you with the golf clubs, but we're gonna definitely you can't be without a job. So we're definitely gonna take care of the
that
tools.
Might have been a God thing because you know your golfing was really interfering with your ministry. Well, there. Like, I'm just kidding.
Who says you're actually that good? No, I'll just.
But you know what? Like that is such a beautiful. That is such a beautiful picture of church, because I see church like a farmer market, a digital farmer's market of like trade, like being like, hey, we're not going with lack, like whoever, no one's going to have lack in this community.
Well, that's what the first century church was all about. Like they would, it wasn't a commune. Like it wasn't like communist, like we're all getting together, not showering and everything. Like what's yours is mine and what's mine is mine. No, I'm just playing. That's not exactly what it is.
That's called marriage.
Yes, that is what's called. Yes. My kids are like, oh, Dad, it's all your money. No, I work. It's all Mom's money. No, it's good. But no, the first century church was all about saying, hey, none of us are going to go without. We all pull our weight. We all have personal responsibility. We're all like, the kingdom economics of it is like, we are inviting people into God's family. And when you are a part of God's family, we're going to give to you if you're not, and we're going to give to you when you are. And so it's so good because we get to be a part of this. And it, you know, when it happened, I'm not telling it because it's, I want pats on the back. I'm telling it because there was something about it that was super spiritual. And like, this is what it's supposed to be like. Like it's the community of Jesus followers, but it's also the community of Jesus followers on mission together. And if you don't have both of those together, married together, if you don't have both of those, you're not doing church the way God's called us to do church. And unfortunately, I think the biggest problem that we've had is that church has been so much about come and be a community with us. It's like, no, there are so many people out there that need Jesus. They need what we've got.
We've got awesome programs for, you know, we got some, look at these programs too. We have a camel coming on Sunday, petting zoo on stage.
There we go.
Like our pastor's coming in from the ceiling with a rocket ship. Woo-hoo. Like what?
I would love to do that. I won't lie. I would love to do that, but no. Yeah. At the end of the day, there's something really beautiful about the people of God working together for each other and then inviting others into that. And obviously, you're doing a great job of that, and I really appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
It's super cool that God is using you the way he is. Because let's be honest, I want Gary V on our team. I want, you know, Andy Grandma on our team, right? That's cool.
Yeah, man.
And I think God's really using you in a way that's super awesome. Keep doing it. And then, you know, keep going at it, because I think your message for us in our space is God uses you with your gifts and abilities to put you in front of people for his kingdom. And that is a message that I think needs to be spread throughout all of our nation right now in this current context. Hey, where is a place that people can like catch up with you? Are you on social? Obviously you're preaching social, so I know you're on social, but where's the best place to connect with you?
I'm the marketing guy.
Like, I just preached about social for 45 minutes. Yes, I'm on social.
yeah. Find me myspace.com.
Yes, MySpace. Yes. What Periscope?
Oh man, no, it's just you could literally find me. Oh, I know. Right? Like, oh man, I just John Mediana. It's me, Diana. Media's in my name.
Media is in your name. It's in your DNA.
Yeah.
See,
a lot of people say, What was that, Medina? It's like, no, it's never mind. It's
Whatever.
Mediana. It means medium in Spanish.
Have you seen my name? Nobody knows how to say it. Either side of it. Chesley.
But I love that last name.
Chelsea
Lundy.
It's like, it's got an A in there. Don't you say Sunday? You don't say Sunday, do you? I don't know. Whatever.
Lundy.
Yes, right.
Right. Are you Australian?
Oh, well. Yes. I have no clue.
Oh,
who knows? But yeah, so you're connected on social. Yeah. So give us the digits.
It's just John Mediana all over the place. So if it's Instagram, Twitter, I've been hanging out so much on Clubhouse nowadays. Just John Mediana. If you just Google or YouTube my name, I'm sure something will pop up, and you can connect with me on there somewhere. JohnMediana.com too, and our company is executivebrandgrowth.com. But yeah, I'm literally everywhere on the internet. I can't hide from it.
If you want to become an influencer and you have a little bit of money, like, go to John. He will help you.
I will return your investment 10x. Grant Cardone.
Yes. No, it's so good. So
I love
good.
and hate that guy.
I love him. So, have you seen Undercover Billionaire?
I just finished we literally are like obsessed. First of all, I wrote an article about the first season.
So good.
I loved it so much, and
Yes.
I literally told every single pastor I know. I just sent them the link. I was like, I will buy your subscription for Discovery Plus for you to watch this, and and teach you a little bit about team building. Like,
Ouch.
oh my gosh, it's like a masterclass in entrepreneurship.
It really
I'm
is.
serious. I will be so blunt with pastors. I'll be like, look, you suck at this. Watch this show. It's a masterclass on how to build a team. Period.
Yeah, very much so. It's like, just keep giving them stuff to do and tell them they're going to do it for free, and you're good. No, I'm just playing.
I know.
All my team is like, wait a minute.
I know.
It's like, at the end of 90 days, I will give you
tell you
nothing.
that I'm an entrepreneur. Yeah, the big reveal. Like like all the volunteers are waiting for this day, this like 90-day challenge. They're like, I wonder, like if they're a millionaire. They're like, just kidding. Like everything you've been doing, it's been done for free, and there's nothing that I can give you back.
I'm sorry, I have 15 cents to my name.
In fact, I got more tasks for you guys.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Man.
So good.
That's
so
great.
good. Yeah, no, you're not wrong. I love that. Yes. I'm like, if I could be the Christian Grant Cardone, that'd be amazing. So,
no.
Just so on fire.
Man.
Whatever.
You don't need
He's
to
so
be
good.
the Christian Grant Cardone. You just need to have the Grant Cardone, like just people that are, so that they could fly you in their private jets.
Oh yeah. No, it's not the money. It's the fact that he's just energetic all the time.
All the time. Like, dude.
I'm like, yes.
What Red Bull are you drinking, bro?
I know.
Like, he is just like, I'm like, how old are you? 61 years old, and
yeah.
you have that energy?
He's
Oh my
just
gosh.
on fire.
I just want a fraction of that when I'm his age. There's a fraction of it. Like,
my wife's
oh my
like,
gosh.
no, you don't need that. Like, the money is like, whatever. It's the fact that he just is relentless, and he's just on all the time. She's like,
who has my money?
yes. It's like, yeah. That's how it's
so
like,
good. All of that.
Who's got my social media platform? No.
Yeah. All of that.
So good.
Dude,
so good.
the
Well,
Grand
thank
Cardone
you
of
for
church.
being a part of what we're doing, man. I'm really excited.
Yeah,
I
man.
love hanging out with you. We got to do this more often.
Yeah. Oh, same here, bro. It's such a pleasure. Thank you so much. I was like halfway through. I'm like, oh, he's still letting me talk. Okay.
What do
I'm not
say?
kicked out yet. Like, oh, cool. He didn't cut my feed yet. That's awesome. Sorry, bro. We're having technical issues with our internet today.
No, so good. So good.
Oh yeah. Thank you,
Awesome.
brother.
Hey, I loved our conversation with John. I hope you did too. We are going to do a soapbox for this week, and as we were talking, I started thinking about a book that I had read. It just came out not too long ago. It's called Bless by John and David Ferguson. And in our conversation with John, we had talked about what it looks like to have a spiritual conversation with people that aren't Christians. And here's what I know. In our culture, and especially our age group, we've been bombarded with many people that don't do a great job at sharing their faith. And what I mean by that is this. There seems to only be two ways to do it that we've seen in our culture, which is in your face, you're going to hell, fire and brimstone. And man, I don't know about you, but seeing that stuff, that Westboro Baptist type identity when we're going and we're quote unquote evangelizing, man, it just gives me the heebie-jeebies. And I'm sure it does you as well. But at the same time, we do know that Jesus called us to make disciples. And for those of you that aren't, don't share our faith, we understand. We understand. So bear with me. I think at this point I'm talking to Jesus followers, and I hope you feel refreshed by what I'm talking about. And rather than the whole like turn or burn, baby, yes, there are some things in the tenets of our faith, right, that are hard to deal with. I don't like hell. I really don't. I think it's dumb. I don't want to go there. I don't want anybody else that I love to go there. I think it's stupid. I wish it didn't exist, and yet Scripture says it does. So if I'm going to be faithful and not a hypocrite to Scripture, I've still got to believe it. And then at the same time, we have this piece where you just see Jesus come and he hangs out with people that the religious elite would just, they hated that he would hang out with tax collectors. They were basically mob members. Like, just think of Al Capone back in the day. Jesus might have went over there and hung out with them. And then you had prostitutes. Like, Jesus hung out with them. I believe that if Jesus was alive today, he'd show up at a gay bar. I know, a little controversial. I get it. But I believe he would, because that's the type of people he decided he wanted to show what he was like to. And so I believe there's a different way, the way of Jesus, when it comes to explaining and sharing our faith with others in a way that Jesus would have done, right? And so John and David Ferguson wrote a book called Bless, and it's simply this, okay? It's begin in prayer. We believe that God loves people that don't share a belief in him. We believe that he wants to run after them, or he is running after them, and he is saying, come, 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 inviting them into relationship with him. He is choosing them to say, hey, I love you, I care about you, I want to adopt you as my own. That's pretty darn good news. And so I want to share that with people as somebody that loves God and knows the goodness and faithfulness and patience and long suffering of God, and the fact that he wants to be my father, like a good father, someone that cares deeply, that will recklessly abandon, like would move with reckless abandon towards me because of his love for me, not worried about what other people think. Like that's good. I don't know anybody that wouldn't want that. And so if we begin in prayer, we literally start having the conversation with our Father about others. And then we listen and engage. Like, listen and engage. Listen to what he tells us. Prayer is a two-way conversation. So when we speak to him and we ask him questions, we should sit back and wait and expect a response. I believe that God, through the Holy Spirit, will show us how to engage in the culture where he's already at work. And believe it or not, even if you're a non-Christian, we believe that God is already working among you. Christians don't have the corner on the Holy Spirit or God. I know that's also controversial, right? God is working among you, and we are supposed to partner with him. And so for those of us that are Christians, when we want to talk about our faith, the best way to do that is to listen for his response to our prayer as we begin in prayer, and then engage where he tells us to engage, because he's already at work doing something among people that don't know him yet. And so the next one is my favorite one, which is eat. You see this in Scripture all the time. When Jesus hung out with people, what did he do? He went to Zacchaeus, who was a tax collector, if you don't know. He was a tax collector. People hated him. It said he was really short and that he had to climb a tree just to be able to see Jesus. And he looks up at Zacchaeus and said, hey, I'm going to your house. We're going to have a party tonight. Man, that would have been awesome, right? In fact, all the religious people were pissed off. They hated it. They hated it. But Jesus said, hey, Zacchaeus, I'm your guest of honor. Have you ever invited yourself over? What do you do at parties, though, right? What do? You eat. You have fun. You enjoy each other. That's what the whole point of this is about. It's not just yelling at someone saying turn or burn. It's hanging out, getting to know, building relationships. That's the point. And then the next one is to serve. Service comes from the inside of us as we begin to build compassion. It is something that is the outflow of the compassion and love we already have for these people. We find out what they need. And as Jesus followers, we serve them in that, if at all possible. And I believe, we're still praying. We're still listening to the Holy Spirit. He's going to show us how to serve these people. And it's not because we want a conversion. It's because we want another brother and sister. I need to stress that. As Jesus followers that are trying to work really hard at inviting people in, it's not because we want you to turn to a religion or a set of regulations or rules. It's because we want more people in our family. At least that's what I want. And all of my friends like John, and I don't know if you've heard Jesse, everybody on my podcast feels the same way. We want you to join our family. And so we want to share, but we want to serve you. We want to share what we have by serving you and finding out what you need and being able to do that. Now, this sounds very different than the whole Westboro Baptist approach to evangelism. Nobody cares about. Nobody would turn because of that. If they did, it's because they're scared. You know what, Liz? They don't respond well to that sort of entreating quality. They don't enjoy being yelled at and told you're less than just so you can show up and do more of these rules and do this and don't do this and don't do this and don't do that. That's not relationship. That's not family. That's just being in prison. That's not what Jesus wants. That's not how Jesus shared his faith. That's not how Jesus showed us to make disciples. And so you begin in prayer, listen and engage, eat, serve, and then the last one is share your story. My story is not a great story. I grew up in a very religious household. We did all the right things. I could say all the right answers. And at the end of the day, my relationship with God was more actually about my relationship with the church. And everybody knows that a relationship with the church always ends up crumbling. At least mine did. And so I threw everything I knew about God into this basket of hurt that the church had caused me. And I chucked it out the window. And I just started living my own way. Except the only problem with that is it led me to the same hurt and destruction that the church did. And so I had to have another way. There was another way, and I didn't know what that was. But one day I'm sitting in the military base exchange in the middle of Keesler Air Force Base in Mississippi. I had completely ruined my life, man. I had went out with a girl that I knew I shouldn't have went out with. I had taken everything that I knew my face said not to do, and I didn't realize that these were rules that I thought we just had to follow just to be good. But there I realized it was because of the pain and turmoil I would experience if I indulged in those things. And I'll just be flat out honest with you. Like, this girl was married. I know. I'm stupid. So I went out with a married girl. She said, hey, I want to leave my husband for you. And I didn't say no. I said, okay, because she was cute. And then all that blew up in my face. I was in Keesler Air Force Base, and I realized I'm at the end of myself. There's no way a God like that would take anybody like me. And I remember being in the middle of the food court in the base exchange. And I can't explain it, but I don't know how. I don't know how to explain the weirdness of it, right? I literally felt somebody hug me, and I heard these words in my psyche, right? Yes, you're bad, and I died for you anyways. I love you. And man, as a military member, you don't cry. And as a military member, you don't cry in the middle of a food court on top of your Taco Bell. You know what I mean? And so here I am crying in the middle of it. And Jesus, I know it was Jesus. I could feel him. And it changed my life. I ended up going on a journey where I read 300 books trying to figure out, how am I supposed to believe this? I read everything, man. I read the Quran. I read the Book of Mormon. I read the Keys to Health in the Scriptures. I think that's what it's called. Is the Mary Baker Eddy with Christian Science. I read all of that stuff. I read business books. I read everything I could get my hands on about Jesus, religion, the way you handle money and start and lead. I read everything because I didn't know what I didn't know, and I wanted to know what was right. And then I read my Bible, which was very difficult because I still had all that, all those issues with the religious piece. But God showed me and revealed himself to me over that year. And it all started with that one spot. Now I'm sharing with you my story. It's not going to be your experience, but I can't deny my own experience, right? And so that's what it means. It's like, hey, I know, because I know what Jesus did for me. I believe he'll do the same thing for you. So you have begin in prayer, listen and engage, eat, share, serve, and then share your story, bless. Those 5 pieces will begin to change the way you interact with people that don't have the same faith that you do or are still questioning all of it. Those are the 5 steps, BLESS. Those are the 5 steps you take to engaging somebody like an Andy Grammer or a Gary Vee. You don't have to evangelize the way it's been done traditionally. This is the way that Jesus did it. And so I would encourage you to do that. Hey, if you are with us and you love our podcast, like check it out on Spotify, subscribe to it there, or iTunes. Those are the 2 best places to do that. Or you can go ahead and look on YouTube. We actually record all of this and it's put on YouTube every week. And we would love for you to subscribe and like us there, man. And rate and review us, please, because that's what actually helps the algorithm and iTunes and Spotify and even YouTube. Like rating and reviewing us and putting comments in there, liking us. All those things help the algorithm keep building us up as we want to get the message out. I really believe that people are looking for something new. They're looking to develop fulfillment. They want to lead in their lives, but they don't know how to do it in a way that will actually help them be more fulfilled rather than depleted. And so we would love to get that message out. So help us do that by rating or reviewing us, subscribing to us on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts. All right. Hey, everybody needs to develop fulfillment because futility sucks, right? So we don't want to go through life being futile all the time. Like, we don't want an exercise of futility. We don't want to get to the end of our life and go, man, that was a waste. But we need to develop fulfillment. And here's the reason why. Because only fulfilled leaders can bring the world hope. I believe that you can fill the world with hope when you develop fulfillment yourself. And we want to help you do that. So tune in next week.
Hey, as you can tell, John and I had a lot of fun. We become close friends pretty quickly, and I cannot wait to see more of what he's doing. Next week, we're going to be talking to a children's book author. Her name is Beatrice Kwok, and she has done an amazing job at leading people in her own context. Actually, she's got some cool stories to tell. Check back with us next week. Hey, thank you for listening to our interview today. We're so excited to be able to bring these to you weekly. If you'd like to stay up to date on our blogs, on our podcasts, even some of our social media, or if you would like to say hi to me, you can reach out to us at 480-531-9015. Again, that's 480-531-9015. We know that when leaders develop fulfillment in their own lives, that they begin to develop fulfillment in others. And when fulfilled leaders lead, they lead and develop hope. And the world needs a lot more hope. So here's the deal. We would love to see you next week, and let's lead full together.